Gravity Zone All-in-One. This course provides essential information related to the deployment and management of a Gravity Zone environment. After completing this course, you should be able to understand the architecture of Bitdefender Gravity Zone. Successfully deploy the Gravity Zone Control Center as an all-in-one or a cluster. Configure Gravity Zone Control Center settings. Use Gravity Zone Control Center to install and configure the client software on physical, virtual, mobile devices and Exchange mail servers. Manage Gravity Zone reports and quarantined items. And manage user access to Gravity Zone Control Center. But what is Gravity Zone? Well, Gravity Zone is a cross-platform security environment for physical, virtual and mobile devices, as well for Exchange mail servers. Depending on your needs, you can purchase either a default bundle, or specific products that interest you. Most products are available both cloud and on-premise, so that they can meet your environment's requirements. Relying on the most common environments, Bitdefender comes with some default bundles that take care of most of the demands. These can be used by both small and large businesses. Course points. Capabilities. This chapter describes what Gravity Zone can exactly do. Gravity Zone Control Center install and initial setup focuses on the deployment and configuration of Gravity Zone. Dashboard configuration. This chapter's key points are notifications, portlets and account management. Control Center configuration. This includes licensing, update server, mail server, Active Directory, and virtualization. Network and package configuration. In this chapter you will learn how to configure the relay and security server. Reports, meaning report builder, quarantine, and accounts. Policy setup and management. Here we will talk about application control, device control, and encryption. Exchange. This chapter focuses on the security of Microsoft Exchange. Mobile devices. Here we will present you mobile devices vulnerabilities and ways to counter them. Patch management. This is Gravity Zone's optimized solution to the management of patches throughout the network. And HVI. Everything about raw memory introspection, directly at the hypervisor level. Capabilities. Bitdefender Gravity Zone provides cross-platform security for physical desktops and servers, virtualized endpoints, mobile devices, Exchange mail servers, and using our newest product, Bitdefender Hypervisor Introspection, HVI for short, is able to protect XenServer hosts against targeted attacks. Bitdefender Endpoint Security Tools, or BEST, protects any number of Windows, Linux, and Mac OS X systems. To protect the systems in your network, you must install BEST client software on all of them. You can do this either by running installation packages locally, or by running installation tasks remotely, from Control Center. BEST includes the following modules and roles. Anti-malware with advanced threat control. Firewall. Content control, such as web access control, application blacklisting, and data protection. Device control. Application control, such as application whitelist, but this is only available on on-premise Elite Security and Enterprise Security. Encryption. Patch management. Power user. Exchange protection, which is available on all of our packages except Gravity Zone Business Security. And Relay, which is not yet available on Mac OS. Please note that some of our products aren't available on all operating systems. The scanning engines are automatically set during the creation of BEST packages, allowing the endpoint agent detect the machine's configuration, and adjust the scanning technology accordingly. The administrator can choose between local scan, hybrid scan, and central scan. Automatic scan engine selection takes the endpoint type, physical or virtual, and available resources into consideration. Local scan means that the scanning is performed on the local endpoint. This mode is suited for powerful machines, having all signatures and engines stored locally. Hybrid scan with light engines has a medium footprint and uses in the cloud scanning, and partially, the local signatures. This scanning mode brings the benefit of better resources consumption, while involving off-premise scanning. Central scan has the smallest footprint and requires a security server for scanning. By choosing this scanning engine, no signature set is stored locally, and all scanning is offloaded to the security server. For central scan you can also select a fallback option, in case that the security servers will become unavailable. When using dual engines scanning, if the primary engine is unavailable, the fallback engine will be used. Fallback engines can be local scan, or hybrid scan. Resource consumption and network utilization will be based on used engines. Best with Relay is a special role which also installs an update server on the target machine, that can be used to update all the other clients in the network, lowering the bandwidth usage between client machines and GravityZone appliance. It provides the following additional functionalities. Communication proxy for BEST clients installed in a remote office. BEST installation package for remote deployments. Network discovery. And local update server. So, if you opt for BEST with Relay in your network, all the managed computers will communicate with the GravityZone appliance through the endpoint with Relay role. This diagram represents a company network with endpoints in the company's headquarters, and in an isolated remote office, as well as other off-site endpoints that will need to be protected with GravityZone. The GravityZone control center has been set up in the headquarters. Headquarters endpoints have direct access to the communication server. The endpoints in a small remote office or remote endpoints can access the communication server from the headquarters directly over the internet through VPN. If the VPN connection is not available on the remote endpoints, BEST can access GravityZone's communication server if port forwarding has been set up on the company gateway, from the gateway's public IP address to the communication server's local IP address. In case of larger remote offices, or isolated remote offices, BEST's Relay can be used as a communication proxy between endpoints, and the communication server installed in the company's headquarters. In this case, BEST installed on computers from the remote office will directly communicate only with BEST's Relay. This means that you will only need one endpoint in the entire remote office with direct access to control center via VPN or port forwarding. This endpoint will have installed BEST's Relay client. Security for virtualized environments is the right choice in case you need to protect any of today's virtualization environments or data centers. This solution provides a specially designed and developed safety for virtualized environments, combining low resource consumption with high levels of security. Security for virtualized environments is the first all-encompassing security solution for virtualized data centers, protecting virtualized servers and desktops, running Windows and Linux. Powered by cutting-edge security technologies from Bitdefender, SVE has been specifically architectured to meet the most demanding and unique requirements of today's dynamic virtualized data centers, allowing organizations to maintain higher consolidation ratios. In addition to VMware's vShield Endpoint 5 integration, accommodating agentless protection, SVE is designed to optimize the anti-malware process on any virtualized platform. Unlike any other virtualization security solution, SVE is platform agnostic, supporting major hypervisors like VMware ESXi, Citrix Xene, Microsoft Hyper-V, and more. Bitdefender's unique architecture allows many scanning functions to be centralized. This means that the solution deduplicates anti-malware load associated with updates, scanning and management. Basically, instead of deploying anti-malware solutions to every guest virtual machine, you can deploy a single virtual appliance containing the scanning engines. Reducing memory allocation per guest VM will enable you to increase the consolidation ratio. BEST with Central Scan will need to connect to a security server in order to offload anti-malware processing. The centralized scan feature in connection with a security server should be primarily used for virtual machines, but it can also be used for physical computers while they are connected to the company network and have access to the security server. Centralized scan features a very low resource consumption on systems compared to traditional local scan engines. When an object is scanned in an virtualized environment, the local cache is first queried. If a corresponding entry does not exist in the local cache, the security server global cache, known as the response cache, is queried. If a corresponding entry is still not found, then the object is subjected to scanning. At this moment, BEST will send file chunks capable of containing malicious code to the security server for scanning. The result is then used to populate both response and local cache. When installed in VMware vSphere environments, SVE takes advantage of the vShield endpoints. It offloads all antivirus and anti-malware processing to the dedicated secure virtual appliance, which is delivered by Bitdefender. Instead of deploying scanning agents on individual virtual machines, vShield provides a security framework and APIs that facilitate the previously mentioned offload. The vShield Endpoint Security API manages communication between virtual machines and the secure virtual appliance. Using introspection at the hypervisor layer, Security Server will basically scan the guest VM from the outside, removing the need for agents in every VM. vShield Endpoint is only compatible with guest VMs running Windows OSs. In order to protect Linux VMs, you need to deploy BEST on each and every one, so that you can offload anti-malware processing to the security server. This architecture requires a security server per physical host that contains VMs which you want to protect and does not come with high availability features. In case that the security server becomes unavailable, VMs running on the same host will become unprotected. SVE with NSX works in the same way as vShield, the only difference being that vShield endpoint driver is replaced with a guest introspection driver. In any other supported virtualized environment, BEST offloads anti-malware processing to the security server via TCP/IP. This means that BEST package has to be installed on every VM that needs protection. Network load will be kept to minimum due to the local and centralized cache. This architecture, in comparison to the one used in VMware environments with vShield Endpoint, does not require deployment of one security server per physical host. BEST can offload anti-malware scans from VMs running on different hosts, to the same security server. BEST can be configured with the IP addresses of multiple security servers, with customizable prioritization. So if the first security server in the list becomes inaccessible, BEST will automatically send all requests to the second one. Same action will take place if the first security server in the list is overloaded. Bitdefender's Security for Exchange provides anti-malware, anti-spam, anti-phishing, attachment, and content filtering, seamlessly integrated with Microsoft's Exchange Server, to ensure a secure messaging and collaboration environment, and increased productivity. The Security for Exchange solution filters all Exchange email traffic. This includes all incoming, outgoing, and internal emails, regardless of the protocol or mail client used. Desktop clients using MAPI, POP3 or SMTP. Mobile clients using Exchange ActiveSync. Web access via Outlook Web App. And mobile access via Outlook Web App. The endpoint SMTP scan agent is installed in the SMTP receive connector, which handles the emails received by the transport service. SMTP receive passes the email connection information to the endpoint SMTP scan agent, which then sends it to the connection filtering module of Bitdefender's Exchange Protection. If the email was not rejected by SMTP receive, it is put in the submission queue. Bitdefender's Exchange Protection module integrates with Microsoft Exchange Server through transport agents, in order to filter the email traffic for malware, spam, custom attachments, and content detection rules. When installed, it comes with 2 transport agents on Exchange Hub Transport 2010 or 2007 and Mailbox 2013 servers, Endpoint Routing Scan Agent, and Endpoint SMTP Scan Agent. On Exchange Edge servers, only Endpoint SMTP Scan Agent is present. Functionality differs in the 2 scenarios. This diagram shows the mail flow with Bitdefender agents installed on Exchange Hub Transport 2010 or 2007 and Mailbox 2013 servers. Endpoint SMTP Scan Agent is installed in the SMTP Receive connector, which handles the emails received by the transport service. The categorizer picks up the message from the submission queue. The endpoint routing scan agent installed in the categorizer sends the email to the Bitdefender scan and filtering modules, which check the message for threats, unwanted or banned content, and returns the actions to be taken on the email. After the messages have been categorized, scanned and filtered, they are put into a delivery queue that is based on the destination of the message. Messages are queued by the Destination Mailbox Database, DAG, Active Directory Site, Active Directory Forest, or external domain. How messages are routed from the transport service depends on the Exchange server version, and the location of the message recipients, relative to the server. For Edge servers, the endpoint SMTP scan agent installed in the SMTP receive connector facilitates both connection filtering and anti-spam, anti-malware, content, and attachment filtering. Security for mobile devices unifies enterprise-wide security management and compliance control of iPhone, iPad and Android device, by providing simple software and update distribution via Apple or Android marketplaces. The solution has been designed to support controlled adoption of the bring your own device concept, by enforcing security policies consistently on all users' devices. Security features include screen lock, authentication control, device location, remote wipe, detection of rooted or jailbroken devices, and security profiles. On Android devices, the security level is enhanced with real-time scanning and removable media encryption. Security for mobile devices supports Apple iPhones and iPad tablets running at least iOS 8.1, and Android smartphones and tablets running at least Android 4.0.3. This diagram describes the communication flow between Control Center and the managed mobile devices. Push notifications are synchronization requests, used to prompt devices to connect to GravityZone communication server, in order to get policy updates and tasks. They do not include policy updates or tasks, but only inform the device that it must connect to GravityZone Control Center. Normally, the synchronization of mobile devices with communication server is done automatically through the push notifications mechanism. The user can also manually synchronize the mobile device with the server by tapping the Synchronize button in the mobile client application. If your company uses a firewall that restricts internet traffic, you will need to open the required ports in order to allow connectivity to Google or Apple notification services. The mobile client application can also start the synchronization with the server to communicate significant changes or events, such as manual profile changes, device administrator changes, lock screen password required by policy not changed on due date, malware not removed after 1 hour, USB debugging status changes, or manual scan results. Any change affecting the device compliance is immediately detected and sent to the communication server. While the device is offline, the application tries to send the compliance changes information every 60 seconds, until it gets back online. The communication workflow for Android devices is as follows. First, a task or policy update is sent from Control Center to the device. The communication server sends a push notification to the device via Google Cloud Messaging service. When the notification arrives, the Android system informs the mobile client application to synchronize with the server. The mobile client application is not required to run to receive push notifications. The Android system wakes up the application as soon as the notification arrives. If the device is offline, it will receive the notifications as soon as it gets back online. The application then connects to the server to receive data. Once the task ran, or the policy has been applied, the device sends the status back to the server so that it gets updated in Control Center. iOS devices aren't that different. Communication with iOS devices is performed via a dedicated plugin, called MDM Server. A task or policy update is sent from Control Center to the mobile device. MDM Server sends a push notification to the device via Apple Push Notification Service. When the notification arrives, iOS is asked to synchronize with MDM Server. The mobile client application is not required to run in order to receive the notifications. If the device is offline, it will receive all notifications as soon as it gets back online. The device's OS connects to MDM Server to receive data. Once the task ran, or the policy has been applied, the device sends the status to MDM Server. The task is then updated in Control Center. In addition to synchronization requests following a task or policy update in Control Center, MDM Server also sends synchronization requests automatically, every 3 hours. The automatic synchronization ensures all tasks and policy updates get applied even if some push notifications are lost. System requirements. GravityZone is delivered as a virtual appliance, which is available in several formats. For a network with 5,000 endpoints, it requires 22 virtual CPUs with 2 GHz each, 24 GB of RAM, 320 GB of storage, and of course, an active internet connection. Depending on the size of your network, you might need to modify the assigned resources, as advised by the Bitdefender Professional Services Department. HVI can be installed on any XenServer host that meets the minimum hardware requirements. These consist in 30 virtual CPUs of 2 GHz each, 32 GB of RAM, and 340 GB of storage. GravityZone requires an external internet connectivity to the Bitdefender cloud services for two reasons. The license key needs to be validated. The GravityZone web console server connects every 24 hours with lv2.bitdefender.com on port 443 to update the status of the currently used license key. Updates need to be downloaded. The GravityZone update server is connecting with both download.bitdefender.com and upgrade.bitdefender.com, on port 80, to check for new updates. The download address is the public repository for the Bitdefender virtual appliances updates, while the upgrade address is the repository for engines and malware signatures. The full list of ports that Bitdefender uses can be found on our support portal. This diagram shows how the GravityZone server roles interact with each other, and with third-party components, such as vCenter Server, or Active Directory. To access Control Center's web console, you will need one of these browsers, a screen resolution of at least 1280 by 800 pixels, and network connectivity to the GravityZone appliance with the web server role installed. Bitdefender Endpoint Security Tools is compatible with several Windows operating systems on workstations, servers, and mobile devices. Besides Windows systems, BEST can also protect Mac and Linux OSs. HVI needs at least Windows 7 on workstations and at least Windows Server 2008 on servers. HVI is also compatible with Linux systems, such as Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat, and others. On-access scanning is available for all supported guest operating systems. On Linux systems, on-access scanning support is provided through the Fnotify or Dezuko FS interfaces. Both of these enable third-party applications to control file access. Endpoint browser security is verified to be working with Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Safari, Microsoft Edge, and Opera. The supported virtualization management tools are VMware vCenter Server, Citrix XenServer, Nutanix, Amazon EC2, and Azure. The virtualization platforms include VMware, Citrix, Oracle, and others. Workstations and servers must comply to these hardware requirements, in order to install Endpoint Security Client on them. These are the recommended requirements for BEST with relay role. Depending on the number of protected VMs, there are different requirements for the security server to function properly. These refer to CPU, RAM, and disk space. Security server will need to be able to connect to the communication server, in order to receive tasks and policies assigned from Control Center, and to be able to send the security status to the database. Updates will be downloaded from the local update server, through port 7074. When using staging, the testing environment gets updated on port 7077, as opposed to the production environment, which uses 7074. Security for mobile devices supports Apple iPhones and iPads running at least iOS 8.1, and Android smartphones and tablets running at least Android 4.0.3. Architecture. GravityZone's architecture includes 7 main components. A management component known as the Control Center, and 6 security services. These are security for endpoints, security for virtualized environments, security for mobile devices, security for Exchange, security for HVI, and security for storage. As mentioned before, the on-premise GravityZone solution is delivered as a Linux Ubuntu self-configuring hardened virtual appliance, embedded into a virtual machine image, easy to install and configure through a CLI command line interface. The virtual appliance is available in several formats, compatible with the main virtualization platforms. The GravityZone appliance can run one, several, or all of the roles listed here. The database is the central logic of GravityZone architecture. Bitdefender uses MongoDB non-relational database, easy to scale and replicate. The update server has an important role of updating GravityZone solution and endpoint agents by replicating and publishing the needed packages or installation files. Bitdefender security solutions are managed within GravityZone from a single point of management, Control Center Web Console. The web console is delivered by a web server installed as a role on the GravityZone appliance. The communication server is the link between security agents and the database, transferring policies and tasks to protected endpoints and also the events reported by security agents. A GravityZone deployment requires running one instance of each role. Depending on the roles distribution, you will deploy and run 1 to 4 gravity zone appliances or even more when role balancers are being used. Possible deployment scenarios for the gravity zone roles on appliances will be presented later during this training. To ensure reliability and scalability, you can install multiple instances of specific roles, either communication server or web console. Each role instance is installed on a different appliance. All instances of a specific role must be connected to the other roles via a role balancer. The gravity zone appliance includes built-in balancers that you can install and use. If you already have balancing software or hardware within your network, you can choose to use them instead of the built-in balancers. Built-in role balancers cannot be installed together with other roles on a gravity zone appliance. With database replica set option, you can enable the use of a database replica set instead of a single server database instance. This mechanism allows creating multiple database instances across a distributed gravity zone environment, ensuring the database high availability in the case of a failure. For the replica set mechanism to work, you need at least 3 gravity zone instances installed in your network. You can add up to 7 database role instances as replica set members, due to MongoDB limitation. A primary instance is elected, being the only one to accept write operations. The primary instance writes all changes made to its data set to a log. The secondary instances replicate this log and apply the same changes to their data sets. When the primary instance becomes unavailable, the replica set will elect one of the secondary instances as primary. When a primary instance does not communicate with the other members of the set for more than 10 seconds, the replica set will attempt to select another member to become the new primary. A gravity zone control center deployment will always contain at least one database server and at least one update server, web server and communication server. The installation of the balancer role is optional and can be performed in case you need to use multiple communication servers or web servers. Deployment scenarios. In this chapter, we recommend pausing the video, in case you need to better understand the illustrated scenarios. In an all-in-one deployment, all gravity zone roles will be installed and configured on the same virtual appliance. This means that you will be deploying just one single gravity zone appliance. In this scenario, in order to enable staging, the update server needs to be separately installed. In this scenario, each gravity zone role has been deployed on a separate virtual appliance. By doing so, you will have to deploy the gravity zone virtual appliance 4 times. If you want to drive up scalability, and ensure high availability and load balancing for the communication server and web server roles, you will have to deploy the load balancer role on a separate gravity zone virtual appliance. Furthermore, you will need to deploy several communication server and web server roles, on other gravity zone appliances. In the end, your gravity zone deployment should contain at least 2 communication server roles, and at least 2 web server roles, whose load will be balanced among them by the load balancer. The deployment scenario shown here represents a control center deployment spread among multiple host servers. This deployment also includes a balancer for multiple web server and communication server roles spread across several gravity zone virtual appliances. The appliances can be placed on different host servers, as long as they can communicate with each other, and with other gravity zone components through the ports specified by the gravity zone system requirements. This scenario is similar to the previous one. However, the database role in this case has been installed in replica set. This enables high availability for the database server as well. The last scenario that we will be presenting shows an all-in-one control center, installed with Report Builder, both deployed on the same host. Gravity Zone Appliance Deployment. To start setting up your control center, you will only need the Gravity Zone Virtual Appliance template. The appliance is available in several formats, for compatibility with the main virtualization platforms. Other components of the Gravity Zone security solution can be remotely installed or downloaded from Control Center. First, you need to download the compatible image of GravityZone from download.bitdefender.com. Once deployed in your virtualized environment, you can initiate the installation process. Then, you need to configure the network settings. In this case, we're going to use DHCP to automatically obtain network settings. Next, navigate to Automatic Installation, accept the End-User License Agreement, and configure the database password. The installation wizard will take care of everything and install all the roles. This will take a few minutes, so please be patient. When the installation is finished, the virtual appliance will return to the main menu.